Hi guys, welcome to another episode of the world famous podcast, Beating the Press. Your two hosts, you've got myself, Ty. We've also got Kristian as well with us here today. If football is your thing, stuff you like to hear, please do that magical thing, like, subscribe down at the bottom. I always get a thumbs up from Chris when I say that. Hopefully, you've all been enjoying the Euros like we have. We've literally just finished watching two absolutely thunderous games of football, and it's why we love the game. Today's podcast, we've managed to squeeze it in just before tomorrow's obviously the big game, England-Germany. We thought we've got to get a podcast together for that. We'll be going through it, our thoughts, where we think the game might be won, where we think what lineups they'll go with. Chris will have his, I'll have mine. And we'll have a quick look at how the tournament's panning up, because after today's results, wow. It has
ridiculous, isn't it?
Opened it up. Yeah, it's massively thrown it wide open. And I'll tell you what it's done. It's thrown some of those pundits' predictions bang out the fucking window, hasn't it?
It's thrown all of my accumulators out the window. I know that. Yeah, it's unbelievable. It's kind of like the tournament of the underdog. We recently had a tournament like this. I can't remember which one it was, where all the favourites were just dropping out left, right, and centre. Was it the one where England were in it? The World Cup.
Yeah, Cup. They had such an easy draw, didn't they? And it worked out from really nice.
Yeah, it seems like just everyone on. I was looking at the two sides of the draw, which we're going to be looking at shortly, and it kind of looked like you had the Champions League teams on one side, and it was like the Europa Conference League, and it was like two separate competitions. So it's kind of like this kind of a nice pathway opened up for England, but I like myself I like everyone can't help but get a little bit excited and. But it's simply not as easy as saying let's beat Germany and then we're going to go on to beat the other two teams, as tonight's shown. Spain could have quite easily been beat. Switzerland have just turned over France. So there's just so many strong teams left in. And when I say strong, they're all closer together in terms of, I'd say, quality. There isn't one outstanding team like there normally seems to be. As we all thought that it was going to be France, but they just haven't got going. And there's no team other than really Italy, your guys, who stood out. And I just think Italy have kind of struggled a little bit in that game. They got past the tricky tie, and I think they'll move on to be the favourites now.
Yeah, I think the one thing that it's really taught us this knockout round is this idea that pundits, and it's lazy punditry, and we'll go over it over again, how one team is a favourite because of their name. That era, that time was gone. Every single team you play now, if they get to the knockout, most of their players are playing in the top leagues in Europe and playing for some really top teams. Italy played Austria. Austria had, I think, like 8 or 9 players that play in the Bundesliga. Do you know what I mean? So these guys are all tactically adept. They know how to play the game. They know how to close spaces. They're good players. And then obviously Switzerland have just shown today, they've beaten France and they deserve to beat France as well. You got Croatia and Spain. Spain at the end, probably because Croatia defensively were a bit weak and the fullbacks were weak. But it just shows that the quality between the top nations and the nations that are normally sort of classed as a second tier, it's non-existent. Czechs against Holland, another one. So I think the remaining tournament, we're going to, the bookies and the pundits will call them shocks, but you can't really call them shocks because these teams, they're fucking good.
Well, as you'll see in a bit on the graphic that we're going to do, we're going to predict the rest of the tournament. I'd already put France in there.
Did you? All right.
Started putting France in there, and then I pulled them out at the last second.
Just to let everyone know, this is literally the penalty shootouts just happened in Switzerland, and we were supposed to do this at 10, but because it went to extra time on penalties, so we've had to do it. We're going to have to do it. We'll get it. So, yeah. Go on then, Chris. Work your magic.
Yeah, so obviously tomorrow at Wembley, we take on the old enemy, Germany. And I just want to speak a little bit about the German team. Obviously, they came into the tournament and you listen to a lot of the pundits we've just talked about there. I don't think we even really mentioned them at the beginning of the tournament. There was a lot of mention of Germany, Italy, France, but there was not too many people talking about Germany. And after the first game, I haven't watched them against France. I thought they were quite impressive, but they just didn't have that number 9, someone who can put the ball in the back of the net. The second game against Portugal, for me, it was the best performance, best technical performance of the team, attacking wise, of breaking a team down, and like everybody just seemed to get on the score sheet that day. And obviously, they leak a few goals at the back, which obviously they're going to be suspect with the defenders that they have got. But for me, they were the most impressive team on a one-off game.
Agreed.
Then moving on to the Hungary game, where I thought they were the exact opposite. They were absolutely brutal, and they seemed to have one plan. And for me, it was the same plan. It was get the ball, have the ball at the fullbacks, and they were looking for the big switch. Basically, they create an overload on one side, switch the ball to the other wing, and once that plan didn't really work out, they just seemed to fall short. And that's why today we're going to be looking into how we think that the two teams are going to line up, and how we think that they can be got and potentially get beat. So I'm just going to share my screen, and I'm going to bring up the probable lineups. Now, the reason I say that the probable lineups is because Germany haven't really changed the team throughout the tournament. They've had the same 11 bar, and I think one player has changed out. So typically they'd have Neuer in goal, Rudiger, Hummels, and Ginter, and then Gosens, Kroos, Gundogan, and Kimmich. I don't know whether that's a 3-4-3 maybe.
Yeah, it's a 3-4-3, and what he's got Gnabry where Muller is weird enough. So Gnabry is the furthest forward. He's not a Gnabry's not a 9. Muller and Havertz just as 2 10s just off him. They'd obviously rely heavily on Kimmich and Gosens as the wing backs.
So the only change from the previous, out of the 3 games, the only change was Sane was brought in for Muller in the last game. Other than that, we can expect that that's going to be the team that Germany are going to play. The reason why I put the likely lineup as a 4-3-3 is because obviously Southgate's changed it about a bit because he could afford to on the last game. But the reason I chose this as the team is mainly because it's the team he started the tournament with, other than, the likes of Maguire coming in. So again, you've got Pickford, Walker, Stones, Maguire, Shaw, a left back, Phillips, Rice and Mount in the centre, and then we got Ford and Kane and Sterling as the front 3. I've got the probable subs on the right hand side. So for England, I've got Saka, Grealish, Henderson, Bellingham, Reece James, Trippier, Mings, Rashford, Sancho, White, and Dominic Calvert-Lewin. The Germans surprisingly haven't got much. When I say substitutes, these are more of an attacking threat if things are going wrong. So they've got Werner, Sane, Volland, Goretzka, and Musiala. So, Ty, your thoughts on whether you think those probable lineups will be about right or something that
Yeah, I think they'll be about right. I can't imagine Germany changing too much as the way they've played. I know there was talk about about Joachim Low playing why he playing 4 at the back, and I think they got trounced in one of the games when he played 4-3-3. So he's gone to 3, and that seems to be the formation he's sticking to. With England, we've spoke about before. We know what Southgate's going to be quite safe. He'll play as 2 holding midfielders. He can go to 3 at the back, and that's something I'd imagine he has thought about just to match himself up against Germany. But I think because they've played 4-3-3, throughout the tournament, I can't imagine him changing. But there is every chance that he could as well. I think the personnel's a really interesting one. So you've obviously got Mount playing, but he can play, but he's obviously been in isolation up until tonight. So effectively, he wouldn't have trained with them up until tomorrow. And then we've got Foden, Kane, and Sterling. Now there's a player. Saka's definitely one that should be. He's had 3 man of matches in the last 5 games. You've got Grealish as well, who I thought did well in patches, but it's one of those where you're going to need your substitute. So them 2, Saka and Grealish, are definitely going to play a part. The only one where I think has got an outside chance of starting is Henderson, just for that experience in big games, instead of one of Phillips or Rice. There, and obviously give him a bit more intensity. And he's big on having experience through the spine of the team. So obviously Maguire, Henderson, Kane, and he really looks up to them to sort of lead the team within.
Mm-hmm. It's weird because when we first went the tournament, the one name that I thought, other than the obvious, that I would want in the team is Foden. And since the tournament started, I can't say that he's settled the tournament alight. None of the England team really have, to be fair to them. But in reality, Saka's come in and played his way into effectively the starting 11. I think I would probably put him in there. I know that there's a lot of people talking about Grealish again. I think he'll play a major part, but I don't think he may be right for the beginning of this game. I do think Southgate will go safe, and I kind of agree with him. Like you'll shortly see the team, which I would kind of pick. It might be a bit crazy. It might because normally I'm an attacking type of person, but I think you can lose this game so quick. And I think you need to grow into it, especially with there being 5 substitutes at this time as opposed to 3. You can change half your team. So I think it's a case of feeling each other out, seeing where they're strong, where they're getting in behind us, are they taking over the game, where they're taking over the game, and then just integrating the substitutes as and when.
Yeah.
I think it could be a good thing if he goes into this a bit more pragmatic than usual. Although I would attempt to play the game on the front foot. Just basically getting in their faces, not allowing them to turn on the ball, pick their heads up. In particular, Kroos and Kimmich. If you allow them enough time to pick a pass, they'll tear you apart.
I think Germany will have a lot of the ball, and Kroos will look to get on the ball a lot. They've got, Kroos and Gundogan are better than Phillips and Rice. Just what it is. I will say one thing, and I don't know how much of an effect this will have on the team and Southgate to an extent. England are one of the last teams to play the last 16. They've seen all these big teams knock out. They've seen their draw get quite easy. Now, do they freeze thinking this is effectively our chance? And if we beat them, we are favourites to get to the final, which there would be on that side of the draw, and obviously all the games at home. And I think that's, especially with France going out today, it's a big moment tomorrow, I think, for England and these players. Because they could freeze quite easily, and I think they froze against Croatia, and there's a lot of similarities between this game and the Croatia games, because that was the first time they played someone decent. It's the same now. Germany. This is a proper team. Look at that team. I know Germany haven't played great in this tournament, and they've been a bit shit, but those players they play for like the best teams in Europe. They're not just like Austrian 9 Bundesliga players. These are top players. These are players that have got experience of playing in huge games regularly.
Who do you make favourites for the game?
I think the home advantage does play a part, but I'd have them as a pick 'em. I think it can go either way. I literally cannot split them. I think England and the pundits and the fans, that they seem to talk themselves into being a better team and a better opportunity to win than what they actually are. Don't get me wrong. Germany were poor against Hungary, but England have been great in the knockout stage. But they've gone through. They've won 3, haven't they? But it just shows France won 3, didn't they? Not France. Sorry, Holland won 3 and they went out. So I don't think that the tournament starts now. Because top 3 went through, 3 and 4 went through. The tournament starts now, and I think tomorrow you don't want to put and I know Southgate will try his best not to put any pressure on the players and just not talk about how the enormity of the game, but tomorrow is a huge game. If they fuck up tomorrow, I think it could potentially scar them.
Yeah. The good thing about the players, though, there's a lot in the media at the moment, obviously, and us as well, beating the press. England versus Germany. It's that age, we're going to get knocked out. But the good thing about this team is none of them were really that old enough to remember even '96. When we were knocked out on penalties. So it doesn't carry that fear factor so much, in a sense of, it's Germany. It's only what they've heard from their parents, what they're hearing in the media and all the build-up. So it's important that they don't get caught up in the moment, kind of like they did against Scotland. Like Scotland, the occasion took over them. Yeah. And I think obviously it's massively important. But we've got the players who've played in big games. So I think it shouldn't be too much of a problem with. Speaking of one of those players, Mason Mount, like you mentioned earlier that he's not been training with the team. Do you play him in this game? Do you think he stands a chance of playing in this game?
I think he's one of Southgate's players. If they fit, they play. But COVID is just like the weirdest of weird, isn't it? I just think if there's any chance he can play, I think he's a player he trusts. And I do think he's one of England's best midfielders as well. He's one of those players that can do everything, You look at the managers that have been in at Chelsea. It wasn't just Lampard. It's Thomas Tuchel absolutely fucking loves him as well. I think if there's a chance of him being fit, and if medical team is good, is all right, and he's recovered, he plays. And I think the team you've got out there, I think that's probably what is the only one I'd say is up for debate is whether it's Foden or Saka. And I think the rest of it, Foden or Saka, and I'd say, that Henderson in for Phillips or Rice, I think that's it. And the rest of it, I think that's what it ends up being. And I think Germany as well is where it is. Just before you show us your team, just a quick question. Where do you think England have got the greatest chance for success in that? What do they target? Where do you think Germany's weaknesses are?
I think you target. I've got to give you my team there. So I believe in the fullback area. So Kimmich and is it Gosens?
Yeah.
Very attacking fullbacks. Obviously, I don't know whether they'll play as attacking as they did against Hungary. At one point, you've got Kimmich. It's like Liverpool. You've got Kimmich crossing in and Gosens picking up the ball on the other side. For me, Sterling, he's going to be massive in this game, going up against Ginter, finding the pockets in between Ginter, Havertz, and Kimmich. Kimmich is not necessarily going to be too concerned defensively. He's a centre midfielder. He's an amazing centre midfielder. For me, he's probably the best deep line playmaker in Europe. So he's amazing on the ball defensively. I'm not so sure. Again, that's why I would have Saka over Foden. I do think, like you, that Germany are going to have so much of the ball. They're technically superior. Kroos and Gundogan will just pass for players. And I think it's important that we have like the two banks. Well, I was going to say 2 banks of 4. It's just going to be a relatively low block from what I imagine from Southgate. And I think it's going to be that, it's going to be that ball in behind more than anything. We've shown that we can't really keep the ball too well, and I do think it's going to be a lot like. Do you remember the Spain game a couple of years ago where I think we won 3-2 away at Spain?
Yeah,
and it was very much a counter-attacking game. I can't see, so I've gone back and forward again. Foden, he's the type of player that you want on the pitch to keep the ball retention, but I just think this is a game where you can't go like for like in a sense where it's player for player, same type of player. So I do think it is going to be more of a counter-attacking player, and Sterling and Saka would be my key players. What about yourself?
Yeah, no, it's an interesting point. I mean, whenever you play, when you're up against a 3-4-3, 3-5-2 against wing backs, effectively, the space is always in the outside centre halves and how you find those pockets and stuff. And I think it's a bit too simplistic to sort of say, you find you wait for them to high and you play the balls in behind. I think that's just too easy. That's like very sort of grassroots level of thinking. I think the way you've got to do it is you've got to get good ball possession in good areas. So you can't just play from a low block and just ping it, because that, Neuer plays really high anyway. You know what I mean? He's probably the best sweeper keeper in the world. So you've got to build up possession and get into good areas. When I say good areas, sort of like in the halfway line and just entering into their third. And again, I think it's got to be quick overloads, switches in play and getting them wide. If you watch the France game, Mbappe in between Kimmich and Ginter and between Ginter and Hummels, that's the area you'd look to target because they are so slow. You look to get Sterling, and I think Kane, normally you say go play up high. Do you know what I mean? Because but I wouldn't mind him dropping in deep and bringing Hummels in as well. And that's when the space goes in for Sterling to drive in or Foden to drive into. Do you know what I mean? And it'll be a lot of time Sterling running without the ball. You know what I mean? Because just run without the ball, basically. Let Kane come short, space in behind to go in. But again, England need to be higher to do it. It might work the odd time for it to go long back to front, but it's just not going to happen enough. And I also think Maguire is really good at driving from the back, so he's good at like breaking the lines. He
can pick a pass as well.
Yeah, he can pick a pass, but he can actually drive, and he's like a fucking train to get around, and he's like a unit. Yeah. So once he starts driving, he breaks the line by traveling through the ball. And I'd be interested to see if Germany actually think about that and put someone on Maguire to stop those runs and start those. Yeah. Starts those attacks.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like what you were saying there is pretty much kind of mirrored. It mayn't necessarily be mirrored in the team that I think I would play, but the tactics I would play, I would have us as high as possible, as aggressive as possible, just so it's not too comfortable. They're not too comfortable in possession. So every time they basically look forward to pick a pass, they can't effectively because there's someone already tight up them. Like I say, if you give Kroos enough time, Gundogan enough time, just to receive the ball on the half turn, be able to pick a pass, it's going to be pretty much game over. It's the same with think Modric ran Scotland right. I just don't understand why they didn't have someone just sit on him. Yeah, so I would go with a 3-5-2, and for me, I would maybe take out Rice, and I would have a combination of Phillips, Mount, and Henderson. And the reason I'd rather have Henderson and Phillips is because I believe that they can close Kroos and Gundogan down a lot better than if, let's say, Rice were in the team. Again, you could have Rice as a permanent sitter, but I don't think there's going to be a need when you've got three at the back. Let's say we go for a Stones, Maguire, and Mings. You're not going to also need Declan Rice, as a foil basically for Muller. But he's not going to go three at the back because he's not even remotely looked at it. And I would also go with Saka. Saka would be my player in for Foden. Again, I love Foden.
But, I actually think that the team we've got here, I think that's probably what he's going to go with. I mean,
is there any changes you'd make?
I think Henderson plays, and I'd play Henderson ahead of Rice, and I think Mount, Phillips, Henderson gives you good stability. I think the question mark's just Foden or Saka. You can go either way. And I don't think you can knock it again for it, but I think the substitutes are going to be so vital. I do hope he fucking gives Sancho leaves him on the bench and gives him a chance to play, because you know what I mean. Germany will know all about it. Germany must be thinking, how the fuck Sancho not starting for England or anywhere near his start? You know what I mean? So yeah, so I think the substitutes are vitally important. The fact you can use 5, hugely important. Bellingham's another one again. We're just thinking, but we might need to be defensively solid. You know what I mean? And get some bodies, we might be having to defend the lead, and then you're looking at defensive players. Can they do a job?
Yeah. Well, that's why I was saying, like, at the beginning, I think we need to, stay in the game, make sure you don't lose the game in the first 20 minutes, and then, then you've got your likes of Grealish. Can you imagine, it's 0-0, and you've got the likes of Grealish, you just mentioned there, Sancho coming on, the crowd are going to go crazy. It's going to give everybody a lift, especially if we're getting a little bit pinned in. Just looking at the German bench, it will be interesting to see Werner come on. He can answer a few of his critics from the.
He's such a shit footballer. I've got nothing else to say. I watched him whole season in Chelsea, and I watched him in the European Championships. He comes on, he cannot hit a fucking cow's backside with what he's doing at the moment. It's ridiculous how he keeps on. And that Kevin Volland as well, he came on. He was just so bad. I think Sane, Gareth, I like that Musiala. I think he's going to be a baller. He's 18. He's obviously.
Sane hasn't been on form all year, has he?
No, he hasn't. No, but he's got that ability, and Sane and Goretzka, Musiala. You're just looking at players that can change it from. But Werner, he'll come on, but wow, he is shit.
Musiala came on.
He'll come on and score a winner tomorrow, but I'm not having him.
Yeah, Musiala came on and changed the game
against Hungary.
Against Hungary. So that might be a decent one for them. But this is our 11. And just lastly on this, do you think it is the best way forward is that aggressive pressing, or do you think it's more of a standoff counter attack?
No, I think you've got to look to press high, especially with the team you've got, because these players are all used to pressing high anyway. You can't just let Germany have the ball. They've got to earn the right to beat the press and then get it into cruise. There will be moments when Germany have got possession and we're just going to have to go into a low block, and then just be nice and secure. Just make sure you're aware on those switches. And when Kroos gets the ball, just be careful of Kimmich and Gosens runs, in behind the fullbacks. The other thing as well is I'd be careful of Gosens coming in from Kimmich's crosses, because he's a real threat. He has been a threat at Atlanta as well. So just to be aware of that. I mean, we're talking about stuff that England's technical team, I think, I would have looked at it more than once, and they'd obviously seen all the dangers. But just for the listeners, there will be quite a few. I mean, this is a game where England could quite easily win 3-0, but by the flip side of it, they could quite easily lose it as well. What I mean? It really does depend. I think tomorrow's first goal is so important. Like, really, I genuinely think if England score the first goal, I think they win.
Well, that's what I said. Like I was speaking to my missus earlier, who knows absolutely nothing about football, and she says, "Are you expecting us to win?" And I was like, "Yes." And then just as quickly, I was
Self-doubt.
like, "No." I was like, "No." So it's just like you say. You can see it going either way. But yeah, again, we go back to that, you know, if you're closing down Kroos and Gundogan, they got Kimmich, you know, so you just got to be careful. But yeah, so that's the preview of the game. I just want to have your thoughts on what you think, who you think will go through. I'm not going to hold you to a score this time.
So yeah, so this is going to be is this the question of the day you're going with, Kristian? Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to go with, we'll have it as the question of the day, but I'll also put it to you.
Yeah, so no, I think I think I actually don't know. I'm actually going to sit on the fence. I think, like I said, I think it literally can go either way. I think, you know, you've got to take emotion out of football before a game. Obviously, once you know we've been involved in games, without emotion, football's nothing. But you've got to be clear and think tactically. Have your set plans. Think of the process, because the emotion around it's two nations supporting their teams. I mean, we've watched the two games and it's been tense, and we're not involved in it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The France game, we were there watching France. You caught, like, as a neutral, you're so engulfed in it, engrossed in it, because it just sucks you in. Tomorrow you're gonna be front and center. Do you know what I mean? We want England to win, obviously, but it's gonna be just so, you know, you've got to just be more, try and keep your emotion out of it, especially for the players, not for fans. Fans, it doesn't make a difference for us. Those players, they're young. This will be the biggest game of their career, so they've just got to be emotionally strong and just trust the process, what they've done all the way through, and be aggressive, be front foot, look to score, look to win. Do you know what I mean? Don't just go defensive, and the crowd's got a big part to play as well. I think they've got 45,000 in tomorrow, so that'll be the most they've had for a long time. So that's going to play a huge part as well. Yeah, just go out and we said it before in the preview show. We don't want England to just fucking lose, try hard, lose on penalties, or it's unlucky. Go out, give it everything. Do you know what I mean? If you lose, you lose, but go out on the front foot.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, just for the record, I'm going for a comfortable 3-1 win.
I'm going to say something and hold me to it if you want. England on penalties.
England on penalties. Wow, that's a shout in itself. I think it's going to be Harry Kane's there. I think he's going to come to the party. I think everyone's going to show up, and then we'll get knocked out in the next round. So obviously, got my pen out here, and we're just going to go through the final draw. We're going to choose firstly from Sweden and Ukraine. Who are you going for?
I think Sweden. Sweden's better defensive resilience. I think that gets them home.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you on that one.
And Forsberg's a player as well.
He is. He's
him and Isaac are the two little superstars for Sweden. I can see them. That Isaac's going to play for a big team. He won't be at. I think that's Sociedad. He won't be there for much longer.
Yeah, Belgium and your boys Italy.
I think Italy, not just because obviously, you know, I said it at the start, they're without De Bruyne and Hazard for that quarter-final. So I think Belgium without De Bruyne are a pretty average side. So
is it confirmed that De Bruyne is out?
Yeah, I saw it on the Athletic. On notification came up, De Bruyne and Hazard out for the quarters. So yeah, I think
okay. That changes it for me. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Italy also. I was going with Belgium, but that changes everything because they're nothing without him. Yeah, they're absolutely nothing without him. Well, we'll see what your predictions for our team is. So Switzerland versus Spain.
I'm going to say Switzerland because I've not been impressed by Spain at all.
Right. Yeah, I'm going to go with Spain. Oh, I'm going to go with Spain.
Okay.
Move on to Denmark versus Czech Republic.
Oh, I think Denmark's emotion, but I think Czech Republic play away football that's a bit of a throwback. They get the ball wide and just get it in. And that's really refreshing to see. I'll let you go with that one.
I'm going Denmark. I'm going with pure emotion on this one.
Yeah, I'll join you. I'll join you in the emotional bandwagon.
So
England. Let's put England in. England. We'll go England.
We're going with England, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Now,
England through to the semis. Go on, England. Let's do it.
We're getting a bye.
England
to the semi. Right, so we're going with who are we going for out of Italy and your choice, which was Switzerland.
Italia.
We're just going to give Italy a bye.
Yeah, you're through.
Yeah, Italy going to beat Spain or Switzerland for me.
Yeah.
England v Denmark.
I'm going to go Denmark. You're going to go England.
Gotta go England. I've got to go England.
Imagine England against Italy in the final, and there's me. I'll be like, yes, come on, Italy. Like, yeah, I thought you spot. Yeah, this is that moment, eh? I kind of hope England beat Germany, and then we get a Denmark Italy final, because I don't want to be in that.
Do you not want the England versus Italy final?
No, because it brings extra emotional baggage for me. I obviously want Italy to win, and I'll be supporting Italy, but it just means there's a lot of, because the frustrating thing for me is, and obviously we live in England, and naturally the pundits are going to be every 2 seconds it's about England, 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 and Italy will get like 2 minutes, of exposure. I'd rather not. But England have got some tough games coming up. I mean, Italy have as well, so we'll see how it works out. I do think Denmark, Czech Republic, I do think one of them two are going to make the final.
So you're going,
yeah.
So Denmark, Italy. Who's going to win it?
It's Italy. I've said it from the start. I'm not going to shift my thoughts now. And I've pretty much what I said. It's worked out as it is, And I said, so they are the most attacking Italian team. You'll say, and they have been. They've been good.
Well, I've got hold of the mouse, so England are going to win it.
Oh wow! So it won't be 1966 anymore. It'll be the COVID year when everyone had COVID. Year. England won by default.
We're going to win by default. We're going to go into the World Cup, and we're going to go in as favourites, and we're going to win that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I know. Right. That was hopefully you've enjoyed that little preview and little, I was looking back at the tournament so far. I hope you've enjoyed it, because I've absolutely loved it, and I've just realised only 2 weeks left to go, and it has come to life now. These extra time and penalties, the emotion and drama that it creates, there's nothing quite the same.
It took its time to get going, but now it's well and truly underway. A couple more penalty shootouts. I just love them.
I know they are. When your team's not involved, then it's brilliant. Yeah, it's really nice. But yeah, guys, thanks for listening. As always, any comments, likes, subscribes, just let us down. Normally we have a question of the day, but today we'll just leave it open. Just let us know your thoughts, how you think the tournament's been going so far. What's your favourite game? Favourite big game been so far. Just let us know, and hopefully we've really enjoyed it. Hopefully you guys have as well. And we are still here. We'll keep on doing these preview shows. We'll do, if England get through, we'll do another one, and we'll obviously have a wrap up one for Euros as well. But we're so engrossed in the tournament at the moment, so we don't really have a podcast at the moment. But we rush this one through because there's a game on every single day at the moment. So
I'm really, with your last comment, I'm really hoping we have another preview show.
Because otherwise we're just gonna have preview shows for Italy, aren't we?
Yeah, otherwise it's going to be Italy, and then we're going to close this show.
I am going to say I'm a bit disappointed that you've not wore the old 3 lines. I managed to dig out the old England top, and I was like, seeing
it's in the wash.
Is it all right?
It's in the wash. I'm ready to go to a fan park tomorrow. Where will you be watching it? In the hot tub?
Well, no, I'm watching in the garden. I've got a few lads from the footy team around tomorrow. I think it's 4 of us. Hoping it's the weather, the rain stays away, because I've been at cricket. It was pissed it down, so it was no. It's so. Weather stays away, and it looks like it'll be all right, and we've got a few of the lads coming around, so come on England.
Come on England.
Yeah. All right, guys, till next time, see you on the other side.
See you later, guys.